I put a link to the live stream videos of a Judge Napolitano. Sometimes he has a Scott Ritter that comes on there. He's in other videos with like geopolitical, what they call geopolitics, what they call international, and what they call humanity. Through that system was a bridge, tactical tear from how we're a species body of individual bodies, all the group differences, clearer than day. In other words, so many ways. You guys are everyone's preventing everyone free speech, and then you're justifying your roles with preventing people free speech and pretending other exactly the way the breaching method employed that. Forced, tricked, hurt, and persuaded. But we have that breaching method as a scientific value in nature's communication to us and in our founders' communications to us. We have it have it replaced, not just taken from their communications, but we have it replaced. We have use of /s of their words, leaving out what they declassified about that, leaving out about the breaching method that was measuring and maintaining with everyone's words were collusions with what was in accordance with internationally monitored conversations and all kinds of employments of that and use/s of that, which no one had fathomed where and how it could be used as collusion/s to hide behind, where no one wanted that singular collusion at all locations, / every single place the human species body has a body. So, in other words, we're everyone's at countries A through Z, everyone's sensing for a breaching method that needs that, or it needs other things, others ourselves, like criminal foreign influence blamed for what is hyper criminally foreign influence. Because nature wants and needs us to say simultaneously valuing our bond as species body of individual bodies, simultaneously valuing how we are independent and unity simultaneously. Because simultaneously, however, initially, we're supposed to be valuing how it is functional, that and how there is a distinct identity of hyper invisible, but still discernible that we could discern a number of ways. Therefore, there is a new nature of hyper programming available here. But already we have means to discern the Constitution's abridgments and screenings of that, which are offensively affront to those who need to be able to use short words proper regarding interbranch forging and switching names and predicate acts at the same time with a whole bunch of different countries, the news, and World Trade Center attackers and the responders as collusion /s at the same time. And with other natures of organized crime before this that showed me this and that we could all observe. Predicate acts every day. Predicate acts methods with facts. Not just wire crime and mail crime, but whole wire crime, mail crime methods. These guys, even if they were our FBI, I believe it's Brian Tyler Kohler, I don't know, Brian Tyler Cohen. That might be another YouTuber. But I put a link to a YouTuber. And there's another guy. I don't know his name because he's not the main guy of the channel. But they're speaking about the FBI. And their premises are not real predicate acts. And see, there are natures and people that want to have start nature debate, and they use the right to lie. We're not supposed to lie. Right? I have the right to lie. In other words, I already know it's recorded. The FBI has roles with multiple police departments, also with the same house/session, and with their educators, including with people next to relative body dumping spots. Even if they're made up or even if they have something to do with them training people, they have a whole bunch of different countries at the campuses together. They're also planting seeding. See, this breaching method showed a breaching method already used all sides of criminal and civil cases interstates. intrastate, intrastate. In other words, also tactically delusions are the science's names, like the people with psychiatry involved with all kinds of delusions, criminally foreign influence, tactical delusions, readings of reality and of history and of American history, hyper additionally. And thank God for the Native Americans because we would not have come to. And still, the Native Americans, as that portion of our founders, still being counter-extorted until they help or we all fall. Because A through Z have been systems abridged and blaming other things, others ourselves, for things this breaching method invested only remember. Things that it caused, blame the other things, others ourselves, and rolls with that. Right? Category with every use / as of every ground difference hyper simultaneously too. Don't forget the suburbs were designed with slavery overtly against black, but against everyone. Northern colonies and southern colonies. And that was sustained, and then America's founders were born. What kind of fact treatment nature use is what we're going on during that? You think about that. And this is after and while it's sustained against the Native Americans. There are proofs since before Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492. We know all the databases were criminally foreign influenced, tactically delusions raw. You know, the nature of debate, the nature of what's plausible or not. And how and why they're comparing people is not just not equal, it's fake. But it's also from off the locations. So it can just do whatever. It's just a breaching method that keeps, the same short words that the kids need with convictions regarding conviction with theory, let alone with convictions regarding principles of American history. We must be led by the black people's rights of eyes. And about how the revelations, other things that come with this, how we have the same color eyes, different color eyes at the same time, other things like, in other words, I mentioned in the videos. This is about the simultaneous / hyper simultaneous that no volume could mimic, so we could per how it is some of the ways per how it is hyper invisible but still discernible in parts of itself. But there are three identities of possession over each finite detail, over group details, and over their simultaneous value. Because of how it values the simultaneous / hyper simultaneous, equally increasing its volume. And that maintained here, or it is forced from Earth to species, and you're a special difference. Forced from here, lethal IDs. If we stay, systems tactical terrier from this one that communicates about positive and negative the ways we know. But obviously, it doesn't want us to hunger and thirst, so we can go get some ultra processed food and suck down some opiates with that. A whole bunch of, in other words, they'll hurt you and your family, anyone around you too, if you try to disappear them, because the interbranch and people with the medical corruption with badges and gavels, they're putting everyone in fake and change communications with themselves. They have wire mail crime methods. They have been putting fake transcripts and databases with the FBI. They have been using people pretending that they couldn't fathom that and how the FBI could be collusions with all that off the records, even let alone on the records, tied to just black people's rights of eyes. Those fact-chipping nature impositions regarding how they have sickly, distinctly clearer than day, the campuses, the sciences names, with their syntax regarding principles, especially with conviction, especially with guilt, and like world wars. They still hadn't have all kinds of roles with all kinds of criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions, takes on American history, on the nature of debate. And they have collusion /S with the use of that /S. Then Rosie O'Donnell, I put a link. They keep. I didn't even watch that long of that, like 4 minutes. They just keep repeating the same thing with no premises either. That's why wars are going on. It's the difference if someone wanted to say, okay, these people are leader, and they still have left out black people's rights of eyes. I understand because they came from locations, areas, and states that forced that since you guys were kids. You guys had other communicated than our founders communicated to have communicated for themselves behind James Madison and his plan, behind any proper debate regarding whether it's plausible. You know, if not, see the whites of eyes could be cipher for us to decipher regarding that breaching method replaced from the communications of our founders and roll stuff by with uses of what they said and or the difference of that or books. You know, or names dropping, experts. And with the nature debate contains quality aspects of nature used for this method perfected from some ancient times of using all names remotely, all differences grouped remotely, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions wrought from abroad and or from there. I learned at Central Connecticut State University they had crazy terror laws and internationally monitored conversations, and everyone had to be part of them. Otherwise, they would censor you. It was a syntactical possession of people. It was a possession / hyper possession. It was a possession of a whole bunch of arrays of interests, a whole bunch of different international companies and natures of, you know, police, foreign, private, and all that, with that, and just natures of justice, including as criminal enterprises, private ones, terrorists, and worse than war crimes rules, with a breaching method perfected since before modern religious messengers were born. It is more probable. It is also evidence that and how we have not heard how it is more probable and practical as it is that and how the modern religions are partially more probably about how the pantheism was about the one identity of all space / existence and how it is functional being a distinct identity of hyper invisible but still discernible. As that would which is why what we are grappling with when we grapple with subjects that we could grapple with only individually grouped and to an extent simultaneously. Or it is that. Now, I wanted to use that word grapple again. I mean, appreciate. And with the verb, that's why we need more than one name for a verb to appreciate its roles with its complete identity and its complete identity of relationship to itself to an extent we can discern. Where and how we can discern the identity, to an extent, the identity of all space / existence. It has a quality of diffusion. Vaccines, I teach us things, but long. I forgot what in other words. And the same thing with what's his name? Robert De Niro. And you know, everyone's shocked and awe. Everyone had and has hyper unnatural impositions that they have to respond to syntactically. And they have to do the opposite syntactically. And that's syntactically ulterior from how opposites are allowed, appreciated by the breaching method, which also keeps rules with itself, with its propagation that's used effectively in self-cultivated rules to keep screened its propagation. So nature itself, Judge Napolitano, I'm sure would agree. If he doesn't agree, his logic and his nature would come with demonstrations of the same thing, and he would be able to. I would be able to change his mind. But one of the things American history is about a predicate acts with facts delivery system method, and or the difference of that, or as it manifests, where we could how we could perceive it as a criminal insidiousness nature delivery system method. In other words. And it's important to understand that as a hyper-criminally foreign influence delivery system method, because it's sustained, only capable of being at countries A through Z, at locations, areas, and states, everywhere there is a species body. Other things, others are self-blame for a whole bunch of things that nature needs to show us, to appreciate as a list simultaneously. See, we have lists appreciated simultaneously by AI and by the lawyers behind them. Criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions, raw. But also per that's all the industries. This is a breaching method. We have to be led. Forgiving stuff. We have to be led by the hypervisible. First, all that was this collusion too. The database is since before computers. Algorithms since before computers. Roles incapable of, roles with use of the republic for which we stand and its campuses, Marcias, and the science's names used abridged, justified, entertained abridged. They increasingly cannot afford to be, let alone to protract. Words proper by the identity the sciences share, as they are actually showing us to speak for things like positive and negative. Because its identity is relative to positive and negative equally, all parts of space/existence. But it shows us Earth's a special difference, our own, that of as the other species bodies. No, only humanity is the only one criminally foreign influenced. We're the ones self-valued going to space, not just for the known reasons, including defense. How can we have defense? We have suburbs that were designed before America's founders were born, and they still look the same. There weren't even cars invented. Or if the invention was there, it was in other words. Reportedly came from Germany. All those world wars and all those people that died on both sides, all these different sides. And no one even brings up how right through all of them, psychiatry was involved with all kinds of natures of organized crimes and roles with all sides of criminal and civil cases and crime scenes increasingly, including the crime scene, the hypercrime scene at countries A through Z, at locations, areas, and states A through Z. Here, Anthony. All I have to do is admit. Then we all do things to help our countries at the same time, but we're on the same plane too, being able to account for that, which is there's a whole bunch of people that are not on the records right. There's problems with borders where countries are supposed to have stability. They have nuclear problems, all that things. It's not just because of themselves having to be punks against themselves because that's all is known. Killers against themselves because that's all. There's an illness of the human species body, of individual bodies. Right there. We could employ pantheism. But we have to show you guys how you were forced, tricked, hurt, and persuaded, only capable of blaming other things, others, or selves for what things the breaching method caused. And that's important while simultaneously you guys have roles forcing and sensing that not told on. In other words, where how the breaching method is also replaced as a scientific value, not only from our founders' communications, but from with nature's communications. So you have people that are not honestly pretending they want and needing to have debates about because that's their industry. This breaching method is showing the unabridged mind at each age of fact human nature. There are collusion/s with roles/s with anybody who appreciates the way nature communicates, to appreciate those three natures of America's founders, forced by a breaching method, but also by nature itself. And then again, to be manifest, grouped with our founders and as our founders, as James Madison, as we were referred to, as we were directed to appreciate them, and president/chief, because that's also nature itself is giving us this special value of having a hyper additional different means to discern the breaching method against our species names A through Z, in species body of individual body science method, all group differences generated by it and its system. But we're not entertaining its short words for it, not short words this and then that. In other words, and long words as value, for example. Because we could search if it is true always, to it as its system also positive unto itself, or only positive as criminal insidiousness. There are criminal insidiousness natures of peace. Peace. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a police form. I'm not a criminal, I'm not a judge. All sides of criminal and civil cases. Which trials were they about? All sides of criminal and civil were slavery about. Which Jim Crow law is about. Shock and awe, everyone left out the breaching method at location/s. Note how the breaching method used and uses difference. Therefore, it uses name/s. All natures of difference. Clearer than day. Not what's smart or wise for the kids is spoken because the adults can't afford to have discern. At the same time, the parents of the kids, the family members of them. At the same time, with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, terrorists, a whole bunch of other countries in the news, other countries in the topics where people are killing each other and things like that and trying to respond, they're all here together. They've all been speaking about things like crimes, life, reason, all recorded, affected by campuses A through Z, all these criminally foreign influence, tactical delusions, quality aspects of nature relative. Where how, again, the breaching method is a scientific value inside the communications of our founders. It is being replaced or pays. So we're going to have to appreciate where and how the predicate is it can be used to discern the hyper visible, but still discernible to an extent, and its complete identity of relationship to itself comes with that, and the only increasing value of that. In other words, there's a hyperconjunction to all parts, and as all parts, to, from, as, with, and for all parts of English grammar and of grammar, of anything, in other words, that could be made up. Distinctly not simultaneous / hyper-simultaneous. This is why and is how we know to an extent the past. We know to an extent subjects and what is true about them now always active group. And to an extent we know the value of seasons. We can discern there too its identity relationship to itself and the only increasing value of it with that subject good. This is how you understand the progressive. and then as a dictionary word. See, but the dictionary words are still abridged. But now they're becoming more abridged. Rather than they were going to perfection, people thought things would never go away. Nabisco, too, by the way, please. Someone petitioned Nabisco. They had these wafer cookies. And I can't make a pie crust recipe without it. A famous pie crust recipe, Nabisco. It would be the best advertisement for you. I'll do the best I could to build this old-fashioned, old prize-winning recipe that used your wafer cookies, the one where you had that picture of the chocolate roll. I don't think you had good. You had to explain how to build that properly in directions too. That's why you guys don't have it in the store anymore. I don't want to give away the secret. I don't want to have to give it. I don't have to give away the secret. Give it to other people. The credit. If you guys don't come out back with it, please bring that back, Nabisco and YouTubers. If you guys petition for this, I will show you how to make the best chocolate crust pizza or pie, not pizza. Chocolate crust pie. Black people. None have seen the whites of eyes. In other words, because none have appreciated the breaching method. Let alone the breaching method and black people's whites of eyes. Left out and replaced. And the breaching method replaced from our founders' communications too, not just from nature's. Nature shows us about human fact, human nature breaching method is one of the things true always. All those different laws against everyone sickly distinctly were value as a human fact, human nature breaching method. And there are other things it was true always, value as. One of the things is it was value as only variably was racism. And that racism too, it was not, it was a fake exception set up by itself that forced that with the laws. Sickly distinctly northern colonies and southern colonies themselves sickly distinctly toward relative positions to and as their torture, extortion, slavery, vacuum nature slavery, even there. And no matter how wealthy, how powerful an individual could get, how could they have left out so long? How our founders had to counter extort the other founders, let alone presidents. You know what I'm saying? Presidents come to the spot. Former President Obama. Shout out to Chief Obama. In other words, he says, like, it's not just saying it, but you go to that spot and no one could anticipate those things. Because think about it, there are hundreds of countries, and all of them, sickly distinctly, have been played since semi-ancient times. We know this. They have suits and ties, collars, exceptions, and suburbs that looked exactly the same in America, Russia, and Ukraine. Almost look almost exactly the same, and they were designed. They were forced, tricked, and hurt. They were the colonists wanted to build them better, safer, build a better identity of ground, relationship to the water, and things like that. Where pollution is going to go, organization, order. Where they had nature's words like order and organization, they had the criminal insidiousness, nature's of positive and negative treatment roles. With the collusions only allowed, and only allowed too. Was that, and with what it caused to be blamed on other things, others yourselves, and that was sustained, and that was built upon, that was propagated. Self-cultivated roles were only allowed, and then America's founders were born, and that was simultaneously when the second nature of America's Native American founders was forged. And the third nature of Native American founders are still being forged. Them with our presidents and with ourselves. Tortured, extorted, in fact, human nature enslaved. And forgiveness is because we're supposed to blame a hyper foreign. We're supposed to, I'm not even a lawyer, I'm not a police board, I'm not a criminal. Supposed to blame a anti-hyper, we're supposed to blame a hyper archetypal criminal enterprise. There are proofs that the devil, they talk about the devil that we learn through the nature of the religion of Christianity rather than the Bible. I don't know if the Bible has things written about the devil or what it said. In other words, the Bible, the Old Testament says only depend on this part right here, where the names of the people, the scientists will come together in the part before it. In other words, we have answers. It means they come out of nowhere. We have to put another nature of industry down. And I'll donate this, President Trump. I'll donate it in a way that countries A through Z, the individual leaders and the individuals, all will sense and love it. Otherwise, we will sense. And in other words, and when people won't be able to fake when we use this hyper intelligence method, which also we could make a programming method by it. The FBI recorded themselves roles of wire crime acts and methods of Weatherfield police. A whole bunch of people through time, with people with the name Tomorrow and Scalora, and further people with a Phil Cololo with a whiting forensics, and a Joshua Stryker with the whiting forensics, involved with predicate acts with a whole bunch of people on my area, including a Robert Rodriguez also involved with them. Also with predicate acts at Trinity College, a girl who died there, and another girl who was on my field. And then the second time he said, I never communicated with the first time. The second time, like no response. He confirmed. I asked him about it. He made a confession. He said, he came up to me and made a statement about. He said, remember the girl I was walking with last time? She's dead. She died of overdose. I don't know if he made a who influenced say whatever. He's involved, people involved with the World Trade Center attack. And I thank that fraud slander. I never saw him inside of a campus in my life. I don't know what campus he went to. I saw him one time. If he was on my T-ball team, I never had a conversation with him. And it's increasingly people involved with the World Trade Center attack. And all along Route 3, which is conjunctive to the state judicial branch officers. And in other words, but these are interbranch and foreign switching and forging names and refusing to get on paper. And they have more people tied to this Phil Cololo involved with predicate acts in my street. And I don't know the rest of their names. Involved with intercities, with predicate acts, made conversations with me since I was a kid, including with the interbranch and foreign at the same time, overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and more with the principal upskirt nature. I recorded with the police and the courts with more digital crimes with them, also with medical families with their own kids, and then mixing up their own kids' pictures and roles with that, and their roles personally and professionally with the FBI and Facebook, and the differences of their roles in predicate acts. They know that they use words like extremism and messing with what's actually recorded, changing it and faking it with digital evidences, including with the principal upskirt nature, further involved with more people and with the name Ian, different ways, and with people on Twitter before the sale of it to X. And they hid that and left that out. They also have the sale of a mobile gas station at the corner of Southstein Highway and Town Line Drive, and they have roles with that, also with other branches of government, right through the sales of industries, right through the different owners, different clubs with the same buildings downtown Hartford, increasingly involved with people involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, and planting predicate acts with names at and next to the news, involved with the policing of those places. They have timed collusions with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, all kinds of differences, rackets, roles. That's why that's still that shell game with the black-white international police, worse than and legal names, worse than criminally incompetent with their incompetent with their syntax. Also, tactically delusions wrong. Just having black pupils, whites of eyes, we could discern this. Just having had that left out, having it left out, they're valuing that having been left out, as the breaching method knew they would, and constantly showing them they need to hide that being and having been by showing them they need to do things at locations with little tricks. Only 3 branches of government, easier than day, at modern countries A through Z. The difference of them, or the difference of that intelligence, foreign and domestic, in other words, the news at the same time, all the difference of who's guilty and when. All sides at the same time, they're putting the same sequence shifts. You guys can't value what is right up front with things. If you examine the premises teach, at this campuses in New York clearer than day, not scientists spoke for New York City, what's causing the negative value nature progression to nature in Hartford, let alone New York City. We have the rap videos and the people with the big buildings behind them. In other words, they have buildings way smaller in Hartford, all kinds of candles and things like that. Everyone got shot. You guys know that the whole. So they have the suburbs. How people that aren't going to know the people them, and they're not going to know the people of the suburbs. Hartford set up as a suburban / urban by the breaching method before America's founders were born. They had slavery entrenched northern colonies, southern colonies, and those laws were that equivalent of that against every single person, including our founders. Not just the Native American ones. I mean, including the Native American ones, which all 3 versions of our founders are Native American. Thank God that they're coupled with, as the value of James Madison. They became one because they are the value of the Constitution, unabridged and hyper. Additionally, where and how and why we have rights that are too numerous to have to list them. Rather than have to, we could observe Native Americans are prevented equality of fact should be necessary to defend their own rights, which are hyper even additional with the imposed upon by the tactically to nature below our feet. Even if a Native American doesn't live in New York City, that's an overt, it's child abuse of them to have that in the background on the TV to see that when they're growing up on a reservation and not have it blamed on the breaching method as our founders communicated for us to. That which is behind the worst parts about it that are so overtly criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw. It is hyper criminally foreign influence because it is there to manifest that way. All exceptions too. The uses of them, the value treatments by them. Shows remote possession of voices A through Z. Here, Anthony. About things, I teach us things, but long, we'll fix everything real fast. People say, the dictator, why they get mad? The judges in courts, they know that they make people raise their voice because having people speak through others and they're lying about their motivations. They already use all kinds of investigators, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw. They want the intelligence. They want to debate stuff. Then to prove it, it's always a use of location. So you bring up how they have the names next to Central Connecticut State University, increasingly involved with the names next to Trinity College in Hartford, Connecticut. So New Britain, Connecticut, Hartford, Connecticut has rules with the World Trade Center attack, with the intelligence families, with the houses there. In other words, regardless, and there are rules with training people to be state police, etc. The police forms, they're criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions throughout the science's names because they're a certain type of victim / hyper victim. They're using wire crime acts and methods. WFSB put me in fake conversations with themselves and with others about the World Trade Center attack. As their time collusions with people from Saudi Arabia, I don't even know their names, and people from all these different countries, and people involved with the World Trade Center, the spots next to it, including the Ninth Circuit Court next to the World Trade Center. Names on all sides of that case, and the court itself with sequenceships, with ones involved with wire crimes and Weathersfield police, and falsified police reports against me, faked conversations with me by the police too, and through the news, and with the news at the same time with the courts, individually grouped together the branches of government, criminally foreign, tactically delusions raw, at the same time with overt criminal enterprises, now terrorists too, but they went through wars too. So in other words, people jump on our words and change our words when we speak about predicate acts. I shouldn't have to beg you guys to get me off criminally foreign influence fake conversations about the World Trade Center attack after the attack by news from Connecticut involved with other kinds of natures of organized crime in the same conversations they pretended. And I caught them at the same time forcing a principal child abuser, more medical offenders of kids, foreign and domestic, and at the same time were involved. Also personally and professionally involved with the courts, families, intimate ties, foreign and domestic, military. We just have to look a little deeper and have forgiveness a little bit longer. We could discern a whole breaching method using these collusions. These are also people out of the state corrections offices, not by accident, in the state judicial branch offices, not by accident, time collusion /S, all kinds of natures of crime scenes, roles with their criminals and the people next to the tied body dumping spots who had time collusions with them with their own predicate acts with fax methods and fake motivations. They're recorded consciously to an extent. They have roles pretending that they believe that jail should be bad because they don't want people to go back to jail. But they're really hiding a collusion /S with all location /S, and with you /S, even they miss on all sides of criminal and civil cases and the courts. Even the news changes with the courts actually adjudicate. They just fake conversations. They have rights to lie and directions to lie. There are proofs. Connecticut is demonstrating that they direct the news to lie, as their names involved with a whole bunch of different countries, all natures of positions. All I have to do is get on paper one name and sequence so we could get the people's names and involved further, and their doctors' names and these people involved with this. I can't get anyone to respond to me since before the World Trade Center attack. Get back. Who disbelieves? And watch people dying. Watch we need to put another nature of industry. Too many natures. They owe so much money though. The way psychiatry, tactical delusions, wrought readings of American history, and collusion /S with you /S with that role. Judge Napolitano, please do what's right. Who disbelieves?